5 years ago, I made a video about the HP Thin Client T610. And now I want to make a video about the Dell Wyse 5070 Thin Client, which I got for around $44 back in 2023. And you can see the specifications on the screen. I got these from a pristine condition, including the original box and accessories. I have the Dell keyboard, the Dell wired mouse, power cord, all wrapped in plastic, which means the seller never opened this. However, I noticed that the warranty has expired. That's why they're selling it at a low cost. And here is the Dell adapter, which you can also use to charge your old Dell laptops if you have the same connector. It's a 65-watt adapter with 19.5 volts and 3.34 amps. And here is the Dell base for the mini PC. And of course, our thin client itself. Now this weighs around 1.2 kilograms. And let's check on the quick start guide, which can also be found on the Dell support page. And some of the features. Now these features vary depending on the manufacturer. We can check on the front of the unit for the ports. We have the power button, the two headphone jacks, a USB 3.2 Type-C with DisplayPort functionality, USB 3.2 port, and two USB 2.0. At the back side, we have the serial port, four USB 3 ports, two DisplayPort, a gigabit LAN, and the adapter input. There's also the information on the back of the device. You can see the regulatory model, which is an 11D. Now, this unit can accept input voltages from 12 volts to 20 volts. So let's just connect the base to the unit because most sellers doesn't include this in their packaging if you purchased a second-hand unit. To disassemble the unit, you just need to remove this screw using a Phillips screwdriver. Now you have to slide it out. It'll be a bit hard for the first time. And as you can see, we have now opened the unit. You can see there's an M.2 SATA SSD, the two RAM slots, the USB internal port connectors, the CPU heatsink, and if you notice, there is no fan. This is all passively cooled. Now there's also a Wi-Fi slot, but you can also use this to another LAN port or another SATA port. Now to change the SSD, you just have to remove the screw again with the Phillips screwdriver. It will pop out and you just have to pull it out and insert your new SSD. The thin client uses the M.2 SATA SSD instead of the M.2 NVMe. And that is how you insert the new SSD. For replacing the RAM or upgrading it, there's two slots of RAM. This is powered by DDR4 SO-DIMM. And my unit has two 4GB Kingston DDR4 RAM. Do note that this unit seems to be picky with the RAM. Some RAM combinations may not work, so yours may vary. For my upgrade, I will a Kingston 8GB, which will cost around back then around 1,500 pesos. After this, my RAM will be 4 gigabytes plus 8 gigabytes, which is total of 12 gigabytes. After the RAM is replaced, the unit might take a while to boot up. And if the RAM change doesn't work, it will be indicated on the power button LED of the unit. Now we can press F11 upon booting up and choose Diagnostics if you want to test the hardware of the device. This is useful especially when you bought a new one or an old one to test for any malfunctions. If it encounters an error, it will sound a similar Dell chime, but if not, then it will just display that there is no error and you may proceed to restart, as you will see at the end of this memory test. If you want to test more the system functionality, you have to click Escape and click on the arrow at the lower right. It will move you to the advanced testing phase. And there's no errors and you can reboot the device. Now this is the BIOS of the device or the UEFI settings. You just have to press F2 upon booting up. Do note that there is a default password of the UEFI or BIOS settings. I will put it in the description of the video. I will just quickly scroll through the configuration options, but you should do your research before changing any of these settings. So we have a TPM, secure boot, which means we can install Windows 11. This is the original Dell hard drive, so I did not yet reset this computer. So what we see here is the default Dell OS installed on the unit, which is configured it for thin client usage. We will just explore this for a bit. But the included SSD is only 64 gigabytes, so you might have to replace it with a bigger one. However, it is still using the M.2 SATA, which is nowadays not that easy to find. You may find new ones, but they will all be made by questionable manufacturers. Just browsing around with the Dell OS. This is Windows 10 LTSC. If you notice, Windows 10 is already end of life, but you can still use it using the LTSC version, which is a long-term support. So if you have a device that cannot be upgraded to Windows 11, you can stay on Windows 10 LTSC. We have the Intel Graphics 600, and we also have the speakers on the unit. Now we will upgrade the BIOS of the device. To upgrade the BIOS, you have to go to the Dell support page and look up for your serial number and download the latest BIOS update. After downloading, you have to open the file on the device. Make sure that your device does not make sure your device has adequate make sure that the device will not be disconnected from the power outlet during this period because you may break the device if the power gets disconnected while the BIOS is being updated. Now again, the BIOS password is written on the video description. We will now click Update. This will make sure the device gets the latest BIOS available to our unit. And this will also restart the device, and the BIOS upgrade will proceed during the boot up. Now be sure to not power off the computer during this period. This might take around 10 minutes for the BIOS update to complete. Now, if you cannot use the Windows, you can also press F12 upon boot up to do the BIOS update. But you would need a USB flash drive for it to continue. You just need to place the exe file on flash drive and plug it in to the device. Okay, now I'll try Windows 11 on the device, but the audio was not captured. This is Windows 11 Pro, installed on the built-in 64GB SATA drive. And we will try playing a video on YouTube using the built-in browser. And as you can see, we can play 1080p videos. This means we can also use this device as a media PC. It is also fanless, so you don't have to worry about the fan noises or dust. Just to show you some statistics on the CPU usage, RAM, and video. Again, I am on the Intel Celeron version. There's the Intel Pentium version, which is much more powerful one. If you can get it, I would advise to get that instead. Now for the Linux test. Again, the audio was not captured during this recording. I again reinstalled the Linux to the internal 64 GB SSD. And we will try again the same video that we did on Windows. So this is the Debian distribution. Just to check using NeoFetch. Now we'll try playing the same video on YouTube using Fireport. And as you can see, we don't have any issues playing videos on Linux. On the upper right, you can see the RAM usage is much more lesser than Windows 11. We only consume 1.26 GB of RAM. Now for more information, you can visit this site that I will link on the description. And you can also visit my blog once I have a write-up on this video. Now, future projects would be a media PC or Windows or Linux, a home server, a Proxmox VM, or a NAS. And some people also use this for a piece of Wi-Fi setup. I would try the gaming on this thin client if it's possible, a NAS or a Proxmox host in future video. So thank you for watching and hit like, subscribe, and leave a comment if this helps you.